They hacked corporations.
None of these targets were particularly difficult to hack. A 3-year-old could do it.
They challenged governments.
Any method of disruption at any cost, any means necessary.
They wanted to change the world.
History was being made. How do you not get involved in it?
But after a series of arrests and an informant on the inside,
I was arrested when I was 16 years old.
Police broke down the front door, handcuffed me in my bed.
who is anonymous now?
You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Jeremy Hammond.
an inmate at a federal prison. This call is being...
I'm calling Jeremy Hammond, a legendary anonymous hacker. Hammond is serving a 10-year prison sentence for hacking a private intelligence firm.
Yo, what up, how you doing?
Jeremy, how you doing? It's Ben.
It's all good. Early morning, drinking coffee. Okay, well, look, they literally just called me to the lieutenant's office about 2 seconds ago. So, and the guy's standing right next to me right now, so I can't finish this call. Yeah, I guess I can't finish this call.
You can't finish this call?
Yeah, I guess I gotta go.
You gotta go?
I'll call you again later.
Okay, are you gonna call back?
I'm gonna try, yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks, man. Good luck. Well, that was bullshit.
Greetings, citizens of the world. Hello. Congress of the United States. Hello. Leaders of Scientology.
Anonymous. It's a brand, a meme, and a movement.
We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
For almost a decade, they've hacked into corporations, stolen private information, and shut down websites. Their signature is instantly recognizable. The Guy Fawkes mask from the movie V for Vendetta, which was based on the graphic novel series of the same name. The real Guy Fawkes was executed in 1606 for conspiring to kill the king and blow up the British Parliament. I went to talk with Gabriella Coleman, an anthropologist who wrote the definitive book on Anonymous. Full disclosure, she's also a consultant on this show.
They're ghostly, they're spectral, they're mysterious, they're controversial, they're radical. It's a protest movement. It's not about long-term structural change. It's about getting people excited for activism, which is incredibly important. And then I think their most kind of constructive contribution has to do with the leaking of information, whistleblowing.
But that's not how Anonymous started out. Back in the early 2000s, a group of trolls banded together on a web forum called 4chan, taking their name from the default ID many used to post, Anonymous.
Anonymous was never meant to become an activist phenomena. Today it's identified with politics, with activism, but its roots are in the offensive, sometimes terrifying, sometimes humorous world of internet trolling.
Trolling is the time-honored practice of online baiting, and in 2008, Anonymous found an easy target. It started with a video featuring the world's most famous Scientologist, a very enthusiastic Tom Cruise. The Church of Scientology was trying to get this video, apparently leaked by a church insider, off the internet.
And the Church of Scientology threatened all sorts of publishers like Gawker with lawsuits if they didn't take down the video. And it was at this moment that Anonymous decides to target the Church of Scientology with one of these trolling campaigns. And in this case, it was, I like to refer to it as the mothership trolling campaign that Anonymous engaged in. They prank called a Scientology Dianetics hotline. They sent hundreds of pizzas to churches across North America. They sent black faxes to all the churches.
Then, Anonymous hit Scientology websites with what's called a distributed denial of service, or DDoS. A DDoS attack floods a website with so much traffic that it crashes. When the attack stops, the site can come back up without any permanent damage.
And it was during the course of that campaign that they also then started to debate whether they should kind of earnestly protest the Church of Scientology, not for the sake of trolling, but for the kind of sake of, activism.
For the first time, Anonymous was considering real political action. And then came a fateful step. The collective called for a worldwide street protest against Scientology, and thousands actually showed up. Anonymous's next big op was just as political. It morphed from an anti-copyright movement into a massive campaign to defend WikiLeaks and its founder, Julian Assange. In November 2010, WikiLeaks began publishing a trove of leaked diplomatic cables, classified dispatches between American embassies and the State Department. Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal stopped processing donations to WikiLeaks. Anonymous struck back with what they called Op Payback.
That operation was, and I still think is, the largest protest DDoS that the internet has ever seen. You had over 7,000 people that showed up on the chat channel where activity was organized. It was monumental DDoS, multi-day against Visa, PayPal, MasterCard.
Op Payback put Anonymous on the world stage and put them on the FBI's radar. As the Bureau's top official in cybercrime, Sean Henry watched Anonymous rise. He retired in 2012.
What was it like when you first encountered Anonymous?
Anonymous, I mean, just the very name, right? Who is it that we're trying to investigate? Where do they reside? Who do they associate with? This is a group that's been widely dispersed around the country and has been pretty good about keeping themselves off the grid as individuals.
What about what they actually do? Because a lot of it's just like a DDoS attack. Is that really all that bad?
We're seeing a new form of social protest, and that is people taking advantage of their technical skills to object in a loud sort of way to social and political practices that they deem objectionable. I mean, a lot of that activity is illegal under our existing law, and there are authorized ways that people can protest using the network to disrupt organizations or to breach data and to steal it is not one of those ways.
By 2011, Anonymous had gone from a fringe group of trolls to a global political force. The collective attacked the websites of repressive governments to support the Arab Spring, took to the streets as part of the Occupy Wall Street movement, and hacked corporations and law enforcement along the way. But to understand who Anonymous is now, I had to meet some of them in person. Anonymous is basically a network of online trolls that became a global force to be reckoned with. They usually organize on a network of online chat channels called IRC, using aliases. But that doesn't mean they never meet in person. And Chaos Communication Camp, a hacker gathering that only happens once every 4 years, turned out to be a bit of a reunion party. Some of the people I met have never been interviewed on camera before.
My name is Mercedes No Hafer, and I have 2 state national bowling championships.
I'm Keith. I'm the pretty PayPal 14 defendant.
And I'm Panda, and I'm the king of Sweden.
No, Keth, and Enon Panda took part in Anonymous's legendary attack against PayPal, Visa, and MasterCard in support of WikiLeaks and its founder, Julian Assange.
I mean, I don't like him as a person, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have rights, and that doesn't mean that I won't fight for his rights, because if he doesn't have rights, then I don't have rights. Everybody has them, or they're just privileges. So if I want to be able to publish secret government data that everyone should know, then I also have to defend Assange.
But some within Anonymous weren't as interested in politics as they were in lulz, internet slang for hilarity. And lulzsec was a small breakaway group of Anonymous members who just wanted some lulz at the system's expense.
Quite frankly, hackers get bored, and there's nothing more dangerous than a bored hacker, because they'll make themselves not bored very quickly.
Darren Martin took part in both Anonymous and lulzsec, going by the name Pwn Sauce. Pwning something can mean that you've hacked it completely.
When it all really started kicking off, the lulzsec thing was just when I was turning 19. So pretty much same as most of the people involved, we were all kids basically. So we just kind of split it off and did our own thing. And then, well, you know, just kind of took on a life of its own.
Who were some of lulzsec's targets, and why did you guys decide on them?
So lulzsec motto was sort of laughing at security. So we sort of picked targets based on who would be funny to hack. And, you know, corporations are pretty funny to hack, because who wouldn't want to see like a big corporation put to its needs?
T-Flow was a respected Anonymous member and a talented hacker. He was also part of LulzSec, all at the age of 16. In the summer of 2011, LulzSec went on a hacking spree. They DDoSed the websites of the CIA and the Senate, hacked an FBI association called Infraguard, and published a fake story on PBS NewsHour's site. They also redirected the UK newspaper, The Sun, to a fake obituary for its owner.
None of these targets were particularly difficult to hack. A 3-year-old could do it. I mean, Senate.gov was one of the simplest hacks ever pulled off. It was like the 90s called, it wants its security vulnerabilities back.
In many cases, people think it was deserved because of their previous actions. For example, The Sun. The Sun was involved in a news hacking scandal where they were hacking into celebrities' phones. So when The Sun was hacked, it was, a lot of people sort of found that funny.
Well, it just seems like justice, like you said.
Yeah.
If they're hacking, then why not let us hack them?
Yeah, it's sort of like justice porn, in a way.
Both LulzSec and Anonymous needed servers to organize online. And since corporate servers would just shut them down or turn them over to the police, the collective built its own network. That's where Chris Weatherhead came in. He helped establish AnonOps, the collective's main network of chat rooms.
So you ran the servers that Anonymous used for their operations?
Yeah, so I ran servers that they used for a few of their operations, probably most notably the ones relating to Operation Payback, the Operation Avenge Assange, stuff in the Arab Spring, like the Operation Tunisia, helping the Tunisian people, Operation Egypt, helping people get back online when Mubarak cut them off.
Did you develop pretty close friendships with certain people?
None of us knew who anyone else really was. So there's a sort of a crossover between friendship and trust. You reach a point where you're implicitly trusting people with information, and therefore you are essentially befriending them because you only trust your friends.
Trust was important since all of this was illegal and the heat was on. In 2011, law enforcement around the world located and arrested several members of LulzSec and Anonymous, laying dozens of charges for their high-profile hacks.
So when the police turned up at my house, it was a highly unpleasant experience. They kind of gave it the whole TV treatment, I guess you could call it. They sent in the whole, lots of people shouting really loudly with, firearms and shit. I guess they were afraid that laptops were wired to explode or some crazy shit like that. Or that, I'd have a delete button which would make all the evidence disappear or something.
Police broke down the front door, came in, arrested me in my bed, handcuffed me in my bed. They all seemed so surprised that my computer and everything around it was off. Of course it's off, it's 7 in the morning. What do you expect?
And me personally, I was just arrested because
you're so pretty. It's because you're so pretty. Yeah.
No and Keth were arrested, but narrowly avoided doing major time. T-Flow was too young to go to prison, Pwn Sauce got off with a fine, and Chris spent 4.5 months behind bars. But there were much harsher sentences to come. Anonymous was on a roll. That is, until a series of arrests in 2011 and 2012. But for members of the collective, there was more shocking news to come. Many of the arrests were made possible by an informant. Hector Xavier Monsegur, otherwise known as Sabu, was a vocal member of Anonymous and LulzSec. Many considered him a friend.
You met Sabu. What was that like? And what was he like?
Sabu is such an interesting character. He was really involved in Anonymous. He was very charismatic. His personality online was larger than life. It was why he was so effective as an informant. Some of his peers and colleagues, described him as legend.
Why do you think he ratted out his friends and his peers?
Sabu was put in a difficult situation. When the FBI showed up at his house, they basically said, look, work for us, or we will take your foster kids away from you and away from your family entirely. And he took the deal that was given to him and started almost immediately to work for the FBI.
Sabu not only led the FBI to LulzSec, but to one of Anonymous's most brilliant hackers, 27-year-old named Jeremy Hammond. Hammond was the real deal, a radical anarchist as active in the streets as he was online. A hacktivist way before Anonymous was even a thing.
And we believe that the internet is a powerful new medium where just a handful of people in small groups, just by shifting data around in the right directions, can make big changes and big damage. Any method of disruption at any cost, any means necessary.
Hammond helped launch Op Antisec, which targeted police departments and what he calls the national security complex. Sabu was also a major player in Antisec, all while working for the FBI. With the feds watching his every move, Sabu introduced Hammond to a hacker who had found a way into Stratfor, a massive global intelligence firm. Hammond then hacked Stratfor, stealing thousands of credit card numbers and millions of emails. He was arrested for the hack and is now serving a 10-year sentence in federal prison.
Dial 5 now. If you would.
Yo, what's up?
Yo, what's going on? You okay?
Oh, man. Yeah, it's cool.
I'll get right to it. Why'd you hack Stratfor?
Well, Stratfor was a private intelligence corporation. They're mercenaries. They're kind of like the antithesis of, the Black Hats, right? The revolutionaries. People who use their skill for social justice. They use it for pay to control and monitor and basically dominate the world. So it was a kind of a natural target.
Why don't you tell me about Sabu? What was his role in all this?
Well, basically, he was the internet loudmouth more than anything. He was around, during the, time with Anonymous and LulzSec and so forth. And so then they came and they busted him, and then he flipped and he started working for the feds.
How'd that make you feel?
Well, it's dishonest, it's betrayal. He chose to side with the enemy, the feds, the white hats, the NSAs of the world, to not only turn over his friends that he was working with, but he also sabotaged the movement at the time, the people that he was working with, were now under monitoring. I mean, he basically got a bunch of kids arrested. And, if Sabu would have held his ground, I think we would have continued on. We would have been more effective. I certainly wouldn't have been busted if it weren't for Sabu's cooperation.
I asked Sabu to tell his side of the story, but he declined to talk to me on the record. After Hammond hacked Stratfor, he leaked the company's emails to WikiLeaks. The emails revealed Stratfor had monitored activists worldwide.
WikiLeaks begins its release of 5,000 emails documenting the private lives and private lies of private spies.
But one question still remains. This whole time, the FBI had an informant. So why did it let Stratfor get hacked?
The FBI could have done something about that. They could have prevented all this damage from happening. But no, they were more interested in trapping people and, ensnaring people and doing things. While they could have stopped things and done crime prevention, instead they thought, we're going to entrap everyone. I mean, they completely burned Stratfor. And that, the FBI need to have a good look at themselves and go, what moral high horse do we have to stand on when we're using other people as bait?
After the high-profile arrests of some of its core members, Anonymous was at a crossroads. But that made some of its hackers more determined than ever. Sabu's betrayal broke trust within Anonymous. Anyone could be an informant. And security expert Robert Hansen believes the group has been infiltrated.
I know that there are certain governments who have a keen interest in not only infiltrating them, but flipping people inside Anonymous and turning them against one another.
And you're saying that signals intelligence agencies around the world will try to compromise Anonymous?
Yes.
Which ones in particular?
At this point, most of them. Yeah. I've actually sat in meetings where people have actively talked about doing that, and not as a we could, as in we are.
So Anonymous is essentially as clean as a public swimming pool.
I don't know if I put it that way. But what I do know is that it would be too dangerous for a guy like me to ever consider being involved with at this point. If I were part of Anonymous right now, I would burn everything and walk away, and I would never look back.
But for some, walking away isn't an option. Despite the risks, Anonymous DDoS actions and hacks continue across the globe.
What do you say to people that say Anonymous is flaming out?
It's never going to happen.
Why not?
Anonymous as a whole will always exist. It's an idea. You can't kill or jail it.
Bio could go to jail if his identity is revealed. He took part in DDoS attacks on Canadian government websites, protesting an anti-terrorism bill known as C-51. the legislation gives the government broader surveillance powers, sparking concerns about privacy abuse.
Are you going to escalate your attacks in Canada? Are you going to go after more stuff?
That really depends on where the government goes with this bill. It needs to be repealed. You could be detained indefinitely if you are proclaimed a terrorist. Like myself, for example, I could probably be held indefinitely.
As a terrorist?
As a terrorist, because I poked a website a few times. And that's about all the damage it does, right? Getting poked.
Right.
We stop, it comes back online. Whoop-de.
If you put your chances of going to jail in a percentage, what would it be?
At this point, pretty high. And when we set out to do this in the first place with Cyber Privacy, we knew it would end one of two ways. Us in prison, or we'd win. That's that, really. We're not backing down, they're not backing down.
When you arrest someone, that doesn't scare them away from it, at least within Anonymous. It just sort of makes them more motivated and sort of more passionate and more angry.
If you could go back and do it all again, would you?
Would I have had those ideals? Probably. Would I have got involved in Anonymous? Probably. Would I have ended up running servers? Highly likely. Therefore, would I still be in the situation I am now? Very likely.
How does this end personally for you?
Personally, this doesn't end. This is my life's work at this point. And this ends if they lock me up forever. Other than that, I don't think I'll ever stop.
At its best, Anonymous has embarrassed those in power, taunting them, paralyzing them, and spilling their secrets online. As much an idea as a collective, concerted campaigns by law enforcement could weaken and demoralize, but not destroy it. And so, Anonymous lives on.
All my comrades still out there in the struggle, keep doing your thing. It brings me great joy to hear about big shot corporations and government systems being hacked, having all their details exposed to the world.
Thanks a lot, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
There it is then.
Take it easy.